Preparing the recording. All right, welcome everyone. We are in design call, community call number 21. We've come a long way. We have some exciting things for this meeting. DM is going to talk about accessibility in Nigeria. We're going to chat a little bit about a merchant section. We're going to leave some time for any other new projects or updates that folks in this call want to share. So in the link here, Christoph has sent DM's document, which can also be found on Slack, and we'll share it later with this call too. Christoph is also taking notes, so thank you for that. And DM, if you want to kick it off, let's do it.
All right. Good day, everyone. This is actually my first community call for the Bitcoin community, and I'm glad for an opportunity to share with you Bitcoin accessibility in Nigeria. You should have read that Nigeria is among the global leaders in Bitcoin trade. Now, in Nigeria, what's the case of Bitcoin, and how has Bitcoin been able to eliminate centralized control of money from government agencies? Now, I'm going to talk about the answers to these two questions that I just asked. One of the questions is what's the case with Bitcoin in Nigeria? And the second is how has it been able to eliminate centralized control of money from government agencies? Let me start with the case of Bitcoin in Nigeria. In 2018, the Nigerian Central Bank warned cryptocurrencies were not legal tender and investors were unprotected. So due to this, there was a decline in Bitcoin activity in Nigeria. And a reporter reported something around September 8th, 2020, which that a Nigerian with the name Abola G. Oduju made a fundamental change to his business by accepting BTC as a payment for his suppliers in China and United Arab Emirates. And this has been the case for BTC. But one thing about this whole government policies about facing Bitcoin in Nigeria is that prior to the prior to the CBN announcement, cryptocurrency startups act as local exchanges. Nigerians have accounted for a crypto transaction worth $566 million in 5 years, and that's a whole lot of transactions that have gone down in Nigeria. For some people working abroad in other countries or other African countries, sending money home via BTC have been the quickest and cheaper. Funny enough, that was the reason why I got into cryptocurrency. I got into cryptocurrency because I needed to take money from outside the country, and that has been one of my major interests in cryptocurrency. Currently, Bitcoin users are holding and trading Bitcoin on several platforms that has introduced a means to handle payments, which is P2P, due to the ban placed on them by government policies. 15 companies, including a venture platforms, a Pan-African early-stage accelerator, and Nigerian crypto app bundles, have been able to propose a framework to the Central Bank of Nigeria, which could manage cryptocurrency operation within the country. And this was done September 2020. But it has not been up to expectations from the end of the founders of these cryptocurrency startups, because the central bank have yet to agree to their proposed plan on how to actually introduce a framework to mitigate the transactions that goes on between cryptocurrency. Now, now how has Bitcoin been able to eliminate centralized control of money from government agencies? Since government agencies are actually since government agencies are actually controlling startups that act as local exchanges for crypto users. One way Bitcoin have been able to eliminate that is one, Bitcoin startup companies in Nigeria have been able to create and introduce sub-communities. Now, the essence of these sub-communities is to actually eliminate the centralized control of money and to also connect two users together for a peer-to-peer transactions. Now, there are issues with trust. There are trust issues around the Bitcoin space. So the community has served as a trust mechanisms for some startups, and also it has also served as a means of educating others that are not inclined into BTC. Bitcoin has the quality of being easy to understand and appreciated. This is why in Nigeria there are many crypto communities with the aim of educating individuals about Bitcoin and the promise it holds. When we heard of the El Salvador news to use Bitcoin as a legal tender in Nigeria, most of those in our community, the Bitcoin community in Nigeria, we celebrated the news because to us it was like a future. It was like the hope we were waiting for, that someday, sometime in Africa, it will be accepted. Since the country outside the shores of Africa have already accepted this, this to us was like a hope. So we are optimistic about the acceptance of Bitcoin in Nigeria. Now, one challenge we face as Nigerians in accessing Bitcoin is platforms to buy from, two, trust issues, and three, uh, a corporate understanding about how Bitcoin work. Now, these three things have actually restrained some set of persons from taking part in cryptocurrency, in Bitcoin transactions in Nigeria. And these have been the aim of some communities, try to educate, train, and teach people how to trade cryptocurrency. Now, expanding Bitcoin's reach via accessible wallets. Now, you agree with me that wallet designs are one way that we hold our Bitcoin and we transact Bitcoin. In Nigeria, we value our wallets just like we value our mobile phone. And it's very rare for you to see a Nigerian that uses a desktop wallet because we are literally glued to our mobile phones. So if your wallet is not mobile compatible, it tends not to actually scale in Nigerian market. And the Nigerians don't actually favor desktop applications that much because we tend to use our mobile phones more. I actually conducted a survey, and the survey link is on the form that's on this document. The survey link is on the document. I will share the result of the survey on Slack a month's time. The survey is ongoing. I just started the survey. I started the survey on Monday. So the results for now has not grown to the extent I should share yet. I'm still trying to get more people opinion about how accessible Bitcoin is to them. But here are some of the valuable information from the internet that I gathered and we should consider as valuable and we should consider some of these information. Now, 51.4% of Nigerian population access the internet, and they do this via mobile phones. 53.77% of Nigerian population were aged 15 to 64 years old as of the time of this information. Now, color blindness, color vision deficiency or CVD affect approximately 1 in 12 men, 8%, and 1 in 20 women in the world. The highest literacy rate in Nigeria was registered in the southern region of the country, in the southwest. 89% of male and 80.6% of females were literate as of 2018. Also, the South Zone shows the lowest percentage difference between male and female literacy. The female literacy rate in Nigeria is among the highest in West Africa. More than 1.12 million people from 40 years above have lost their sight in Nigeria. Now, you will know that Nigeria is a country that the populations of Nigeria are majorly millennials and are majorly youths. So the effects of blindness, sight of them losing their sight is very slim based on the statistics we have here. The statistics that we have here shows that 1.2 million people from 40 years above have lost their sight. And we'll have the total number of population in Nigeria that's close to billions, more than, and now majority of these populations are young persons below the age of 40. So vision as in they still have their sights with them. That's the point I'm trying to make. So there are a lot of populations of young folks out there that still have good sight, that still have their sight and can still read and access the internet more often. So I believe strongly that in Nigeria we are accessing Bitcoin more because of the age brackets. The age bracket that are accessing Bitcoin.
Do we still have you here?
Yeah, it cut out for me. I think the connections.
Yeah, maybe we'll wait and just see a couple minutes. DM, if you can hear us, maybe we can start over. Sometimes Jitsy's kind of finicky. We could, if you want to try to close it down and open it back up.
It's really interesting. I was just looking at, I don't know about you, but I don't know a lot about Nigeria.
I'd like to know more than I do, yeah.
I'm just looking up some basic stuff. Population of 200 million people. There's a 62% adult literacy rate.
I wonder how they define that.
Yeah,
like as an adult being 18 or?
This is of people ages 15 and above who can both read and write with understanding a short, simple statement about their everyday life. Yeah, but that's real accessibility stuff here.
Definitely. It's looking like you lost a connection, but we can see if we can, I'll message him and see if he can hop back on here. But if you guys have any thoughts, we can maybe like formulate something for him and like message him too.
Oh, intermittent connections on the continent and in such kind of regions is always a big problem.
Right.
And it's not even it's not just internet connections. It's also electricity, going in and out as well. Lots of these kind of infrastructure problems. On a note about Lightning, though, Paxful, which they're quite popular in Nigeria as a P2P marketplace. They finally implemented Lightning for deposits and withdrawals, I believe. So
yeah, they have.
That's going to be really, really good.
So I was, one thing that I was wondering is what devices people use, because I'm sure the average device there is not an iPhone 12 or so. Well, it's not like that anywhere, right? But the type of devices people have and the wallets that are available on those devices is probably also very different that some of us in our respective countries deal with.
So
for previous development, what I've done sometimes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I don't want to interrupt, but I'm getting messages that he can hear us. So if we have like questions or want to communicate, I'm just messaging him on Slack. So I just want to make sure we have some sort of loop. He says he still doesn't understand why we can't hear him, but he can hear us. But I don't want to interrupt your thought. Sorry, Christoph, but I just want to let you know, like he can hear us. So if you have anything you want to communicate, let me know.
He's muted right now.
Maybe he had like a keystroke that accidentally muted him.
Yeah, he's muted now.
Okay. Yeah, DM, if you can hear us, I think you're back. So if you want to hit that little mic icon, that might help. Yeah, Jitsi is weird. Reconnecting, connecting helps a lot. I'm going to just message him on Slack and tell him to see if we can hit that little mic icon. Anyway, Christoph, I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, just something that I used to do when I did tons more web development is I bought the worst netbook I could find on Amazon, the cheapest, worst computer, and I would make sure everything I do, I test on that too, to really just make sure to get the actual experience of what I build is like on a very low end hardware also. Because I feel like that's kind of a reality check sometimes for when you design or build things, and you're always on more modern machines.
or you could just use these old MacBooks that are so slow these days.
Yeah, that's
Like
why
the
I'm asking
refurbished
about the
ones?
devices.
I mean, that's a good question, assuming people even have the devices. I mean, they must to transact. I mean, I wonder if anyone's doing it via desktop or via like a shared device too, if you don't even have your own. I imagine if I was 15 or whatever, like, I don't know, unless your parents are like helping you, it's tough to get that stuff.
It
So
sounded based
TM
on,
is reconnecting.
it sounded like what he was saying earlier is that it's typically more mobile phone usage than desktop over there.
Yeah, sounds like we're back. Are we all good, DM?
We should be good if you can hear me.
Yes, you're
All
awesome. We got
right.
it.
Okay. Sorry for the break. Okay.
Happens to all of us. Don't worry.
Okay. So the development of an accessible wallet through the process of accessible design. I got to know about accessible designs while researching for this talk, and it's actually an interesting process for me though, because it was like you getting to understand how a particular category or a particular set of persons feel or approaches a specific task, for you to be able to design for them a solution that fits into their activity. So when I get to find out about accessible design, I was like, wow, this is actually the case for Nigeria. For Nigerians to be able to access Bitcoin more, there needs to be a kind of quotes a universal design which already exists. And but I would have suggested, or just my thoughts, that there needs to be a kind of designing for a specific demography of persons, because in Nigeria we have more of young folks into cryptocurrency than we have those above the age of 40, based on the statistics I just showed here. So the designing when designing wallets for when designing wallets, we should focus more about younger persons within the age of 16 to 40 years, based on the data I just gave. So my conclusion will be that this talk that I just presented are just some preliminary insights from a bigger research that I will want to work on, and gather some accurate and more detailed data, so that while trying to trying to gather more of Bitcoin developers in Nigeria, there will be more information for them to build with. There will be more access to information that they can build with, design with, and actually test with. So that's actually a bit of the information I've been able to gather thus far.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing. And I think a lot of us had some questions and comments, and this is so awesome to have folks from Nigeria calling, because we know there's like a huge user base. So having someone to talk to is incredible. So usually we just open it up after people share their work. So if that's cool with you, we can just kind of open up the floor here.
All right, thank you very much. I'm listening for the comment and questions. I'm ready to talk.
Great. Yeah, thank you.
Christoph had one question about the types of mobile devices. Do you have any kind of insight into that? Just like vaguely, perhaps?
Devices. Okay. I will just call some names, and I hope you can get my pronunciations well. Sorry for my English donations. Okay, the kind of mobile device we'll have here, we use smartphones in Nigeria. Smartphones are more in Nigeria, and the products of the smartphones are majorly Techno, Infinix, Vivo, Redmi, Samsung, and iPhone. I just call six brands of phones.
Is there Oppo there as well?
Yeah, there's Oppo here as well.
Yeah, popular. So like I guess I do have some questions on like mobile plans and stuff because I think like internet in Nigeria is quite expensive still, right? And
Yes, it is.
and yeah, and what about the like do people have like broadband like Wi-Fi broadband at home, or is it more like mobile hotspots and stuff that's being used?
Okay, now we have like me. Now let me talk about myself a little bit about to answer your question.
Yeah.
I use a MiFi, a broadband. I use a MiFi, so it's optional. Most people prefer using a MiFi because of the speed it provides. But some persons that can afford using a MiFi use their mobile network, the network on their mobile phones. So the internet accessibility in Nigeria is very expensive, and most of the times there are some spots created that have free Wi-Fi that you could just go there and connect, but it is not rampant. It is only in some urban areas that you could find spots where you see a free Wi-Fi to connect with, and it's not really that much.
Okay, so you personally, do you like keep um your hotspot online, or do you like turn it off when you don't use it, or
Okay, I turn it off when I'm not using it.
okay, so it's not always connected then.
Yes, it's not always connected.
I see. Yeah. Okay,
Which
and
which wallets are popular? Sorry, John, so you can also continue.
no, go on.
I was just wondering which wallets are popular, and if there maybe are some open source wallets that people already use, maybe we could just directly get in contact with them.
Okay, there are two wallets that are popular in Nigeria. One is Trust Wallets and Binance Wallets, and also right, yeah, MetaMask, MetaMask, Binance Wallet, and Trust Wallet. So these are three popular wallets used in Nigeria.
Okay, we need to get Moon over there. We need to get Breeze, Phoenix, Blue Wallet.
Okay.
Um, hmm,
I'm just kind of curious too, like you hopped into the community and you're sharing this information, which is so great. Like, how can we help you? What would be good for us to offer, or for us to jump in, and what do you need? What can we do for you? Like, how can we get involved?
Okay, there is a community I'm part of called the African Blockchain Developers Community. African Blockchain Developers Community, ABCD. And what we do actually, just like what we're doing now, having this meetup, we I'm actually part of two cryptocurrency communities. I'm actually part of the African Blockchain Developers Community. I'm also part of the Crypto Bootcamp community. Okay, now talking about the Crypto Bootcamp community, what we do in Crypto Bootcamp communities, we educate people about crypto. We teach them every basic information they need to know about Bitcoin specifically, and we have an internal means where we trade within ourselves. Or if someone in the community wants to buy Bitcoin and is finding difficulty in buying it, all he needs to do is to drop a message on the WhatsApp group, because in the WhatsApp group we have, and also on Telegram. Drop the message on the Telegram that you need a Bitcoin of this amount. Then someone in the group transfer that same Bitcoin to your wallet, and you transfer the cash to the person's bank account. So I think what we need is actually resources to actually conduct these educations, these seminars or these webinars, and also an assist on how we can actually run a very broader survey and campaign on how we can educate people more on Bitcoin awareness, adaptation, and that's all.
What about languages? Do most people in Nigeria, what languages do they speak, or what kind of education would be most helpful?
Primary language in Nigeria is English. So whatever is written in English is being understood by almost everybody in Nigeria. So, but there are three other native languages we have in Nigeria that are popular: the Yoruba, the Hausa, and the Igbo. So, but we all speak English. So, English is better.
I'm not sure how helpful this will be, but I'm just going to message something. I have no idea if I'm saying this correctly, but I found out about this recently. It's called Kala Africa, Qala Africa.
Yeah,
And yeah, okay, you're familiar.
yes, I'm familiar with it. I came across it yesterday. I saw this yesterday, and I actually signed up for. They're actually organizing a program that is being sponsored by Deal with Bitcoin Foundation and the Human Rights Foundation. So
Yeah.
they're actually planning on training developers from Nigeria into Bitcoin. I signed up for this as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and maybe that would be a good way to see. I mean, I know some of the people who are involved too, like Carla has done things with like Chain Code Labs, and I think Jonas is somewhat involved too somehow. So maybe we can kind of connect you with folks who are directly, and maybe you can connect them with people in Nigeria too who would benefit from this. But I don't know too much. I just know the people who are involved. But it would be awesome to kind of like get you all connected if possible.
Definitely, I will. And the part of Nigeria I stay, most people are familiar with Lagos as the tech hub of Nigeria, which arguably there's no doubt about that. But I live in a different city that is less populated, and we also have more of Bitcoin developers there, but they don't have access to informations of this nature, just like the Quella Africa. I came across it yesterday and I shared it with my community. So I am thinking the concentration on developers from Nigeria coming into Bitcoin is not kind of inclusive because it's being focused and centralized on just Lagos as a city. Meanwhile, there are other cities that have developers that are interested in Bitcoin, but they don't have the privilege or the opportunity those in Lagos have. Because most of the things that come into Nigeria gets to Lagos, and before it gets to other part of the city, I'm sorry to say this, but it's just like a fraction of the whole information that gets to them, and they get it late. They get it late. So I think one thing this meetup have taught me and I've gained from this is that I have to connect more to my local community. Any information, relevant information I gather from here that can help them skill their self in developing Bitcoin and more.
What do you think would be good ways of making this information available to people outside commuters?
Sorry, can you repeat that? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. What do you think would be kind of the most helpful way of getting information to developers outside of specific cities, like you were mentioning? What are good ways to think of sharing information with people so that it's accessible to them?
Okay, like I suggested earlier, I am part of some communities here. So the one way I think information can be shared within cities that are not legal cities, there are other cities apart from Lagos, is
would it be possible for you to share with us like some cities that are promising and need more information that you think aren't getting them? You know, we're not as local as you are and you're more in touch with the communities. So maybe you can kind of help us understand where we could focus Because we do want, like, that's kind of part of this community is we want to share with everybody. But if we don't know, then we can't help folks. So maybe you can kind of connect this all, and we can get them onto meetings, and we can get them the resources they need. I don't know. Maybe you have better advice, but that's just ideas that are coming to my head right now.
Yes, I will do that. There are 3 cities actually that are promising: Port Harcourt, Ibadan, and Uyo. These 3 cities are promising, and these are promising cities. And getting message across to the cities can be done via there are communities in these cities as well. So most of the resources that are shared can be reshared to their community. I think that's the best way I could think of for now.
For the continued research, I have some documentation on another project called Bed.money that I was conducting last year. Some user research in East Africa, Southeast Asia, and the Caribbean. If it would be useful for you, I'm happy to share whatever templates and resources and stuff from that project with you as well.
Thank you very much. I'll be glad to work with the resources. You could just share it in the Slack, on Slack, and I will get it.
Yeah, sure.
Sweet. Do we have anything else for DM, or how are you guys feeling about this? We good to move on?
Okay, let me suggest something here. I just have a thought right now. Maybe I work with the chapter head of ABCD, African Blockchain Developer Community, and we can actually merge together and create a physical meetup where developers from this parts, Bitcoin developers from this parts, from Port Harcourt actually comes together, and most of these resources that are being shared, I could share it with them. I don't know if that works too.
I think that would be fantastic. I mean, any kind of like outreach like that and sharing resources. Are you familiar with any design communities over there? I know there's like a lot of like really top talent in Nigeria.
Yes, yes. There are a lot of design communities.
Do you think that you can maybe like reach out to some of them and like chill Bitcoin.design? Because I think
Yes.
like yeah, a lot of times people in like these different communities that many people don't even know that Bitcoin.design exists as yet. So I mean, if you have like a bunch of young people working online already, I think many of them might be even accepting payments in Bitcoin. But not know about the design community.
Yes, there are a lot of Bitcoin. There are a lot of design communities in Nigeria. We have the Figma community in Nigeria. We have Creative Discord made of designers. We have XD community in Nigeria. So I can actually do as you just said and share with them.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Sweet. And I know we're all about like actionable steps in Bitcoin and design and development here. So if you want to too, we could even see if we could include in our calendar maybe like a weekly or bi-weekly meeting where just folks from Africa hop on and tell us what they need help with, and we can focus specifically on their needs. If you think they're kind of left behind and getting this information too late, maybe that's a good way for us to kind of focus specifically on people who might need to catch up a little bit more versus other people who you feel like have the information sooner. We could be open to whatever works for you, but that's just kind of an idea that I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think I'll work on that. Once I work on that, I'll drop a message, I'll drop notification on the Slack channel.
Oh, awesome. We can definitely integrate it into like the community calendar. So keep us posted on that for sure. Does anyone else have any other questions before we move on? This has been really great. We're good? Okay, cool. Thank you, DM. And we'll move on to, I just wanted to talk real quick about the merchant section. It's not formal. I just want to get your guys' opinions and sort of takes on what you would like to see. I have a grant proposal that I've already shared to death, and I'm happy to do it again. But yeah, just curious as I pop this thing off, like if we want to do, one thing that was on my mind was like the version 2 of a lightning sort of design guide that we had maybe chatted a little bit about. Is that something we want to have a pretty direct focus on as we move forward, or what were you guys hoping for from this merchant section that maybe I had missed? In my mind, I'm thinking it's sort of like a quick breakdown of like a specific section for people who are sellers and a specific section for people who are building and designing for these experiences. So it's going to have to be pretty specific in terms of milestones. But if you guys have anything that maybe I missed or that you want to share, I'd love to include it. Nothing? Okay, then we can move on. Does anyone else have, I mean, I'm cool just talking about this anytime. You guys can DM me with whatever requests you have. I just want to make sure everyone has a say in it. It's not just me telling us what we're doing.
You might have to refresh our memory a little bit.
I haven't looked
Yeah, I'll include a link here.
Yeah, I haven't even looked at the proposal in like a month, I don't think. But I mean,
it has not changed too much. So there's a few little edits, but nothing crazy. I'm gonna link it real.
Yeah, I mean, but I think, you know, but the comments I made, I think before, I still stand by. Like I said, I think it's great. I think we need it, a merchant section. And like I said, pretty much, I'm just going to repeat the exact same thing I said next time. Just my advice would just be, it's a very broad topic, and, you know, don't get too overwhelmed with it. You know, there's nothing wrong, I think, with, you know, narrowing your focus to a very specific section of the topic.
I included all your guys' feedback too in this doc. I just linked it, but there's a whole page with everything you guys said. So it's all in there. Yeah, probably paraphrased a little bit, but I appreciate that. It's true. Like it can get really wild and to the point where it's not useful. So that is a really great point, Stephen.
I'll review the document again and leave some comments.
Sorry, it's like 6 pages. I should have prepped you guys, but I feel like everyone's seen this to death. I mean, I hate to just like share the same thing over and over, but I've been adding to it. It feels a little excessive, but and the timeline is going to have to change. But my main thing is like with you guys, like I really do value your feedback, and it helps make the work better. But I also want it to represent what everybody wants to see. And I know Connor had actually told me maybe a deeper focus on visuals, UX UI experimentation, and I think that's something that I had left out for a while, so I added a page in there. Yeah, that making it less of like just a text document and more of showing what could actually be through prototypes.
And as I very quickly peruse, you know, the document you posted, which, you know, I don't have time to read all of it right here publicly, but on this call. But I did notice you had a section about, like, you know, distinguishing between like web and store and all that. And I'm just thinking out loud here I'm curious with the you know, adoption in El Salvador and all of that. I would imagine that it's probably, for residents of El Salvador, it's probably really critical for them for the in-person merchant experience. I would imagine. I mean, I'm not saying there aren't also people running online stores there, but I just think you see these like tweets coming out about, like, you know, McDonald's and Starbucks and all of that. And I can imagine that there would be, you know, brick and mortar stores not owned by large corporations, owned, you know, by small, you know, mom and pop shops, local businesses, things like that, that might want to keep up with that, you know, with what the larger businesses are doing. And so for them, the focus might be on how do you have a merchant experience in a brick and mortar store. But I don't know. I don't live in El Salvador, but that would be my thinking.
No, 100%. It's going to be more than El Salvador pretty soon, so that's a great thought. It should be small business oriented as well.
I just
it's go ahead.
I'm sorry, and I don't know if you can hear me well. I think my mic's been weird as of late, but I was just thinking that it was good that you divided, that you are going to have things for sellers and also for designers that make those kinds of products, or developers, I suppose. It's kind of interesting. It's not something that we have addressed in the guide, right? Like the connection to people specifically. So I like the idea of it tying into sellers.
Thank you. I can't take credit for that, though. That was all based on your guys' feedback from last time. So I will say thank you, but you should thank yourself for that. I feel like you guys were the ones who really pointed that out.
And I don't know, this is kind of unrelated, and I've been thinking about what DM was saying, and even what people are experiencing now on a daily basis on mobile phones. And it makes me think that a lot of people are not aware of non-custodial products, and they're also there may not be as many solutions that are as secure as when you have a desktop you can connect to other hardware. So it's something to think about. What are some ways that people could be more secure, or that they could learn about non-custodial options? Because it seems that that is one of the issues.
Totally. And even to bounce off that, it's like most people, non-custodial could be like the first time they've heard that word, but could also be like, what's a hardware wallet? That's pretty important for folks who are, unbanked and focused on saving and understanding how to keep things secure. I'm totally with you on that.
So I have a question at the very bottom. I haven't seen this yet. The idea of opening a studio.
Yeah, they wanted me to do this in a grant. They were like, well, you have to have a they literally said brick and mortar in this one grant that I applied for. And I was like, nowhere else to open. So I'm going to just list this obscure. We'll just like throw out a location. And we don't need to have a studio. That was just something that people proposed. They're like, well, how are merchants going to find you? And I was like, well, nowhere's open. We're all closed because of COVID. And they're like, well, what about people who don't really use the internet, with the idea of like mom and pop shops? And I was like, I can't go to everybody for this. Like, it's just not possible. But yeah, a studio, I mean, I think physically reaching out to people is necessary. I don't know how that's going to happen, but it's hard with like a decentralized. I don't know how it's going to happen, but the suggestion was out there, and I agree. Meeting with people matters. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Like physically meeting with merchants?
On the one hand is, is the grant about convincing merchants to do this, or is it about helping identify design guidelines for projects who provide these types of services? And
I would think just helping identify, but I think some people have different ideas about what it should be.
But I mean, generally, I think the idea of studio is kind of cool. Let's say you're in a studio, obviously you have to be in a location where there may be other people, like some startup environment or so, where other people can come in and stop by, and maybe you can mock things up. You can kind of have a point of sale set up with prototypes. You ask people to come in and like pretend buy something or so. In terms of an open collaborative process, and also kind of presenting design output, I think that's actually kind of a cool idea.
Thank you. It wasn't really mine. It was just I shared this, and people were like, "How are people going to meet with you?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? We have video calls." And they're like, "Not everybody's going to use a video call," which is true.
So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. It is a cool idea. I mean, like, definitely having in my career worked in both like in person. Like, it sounds to me like it's like talking about a studio environment, like a design studio, and like I've worked for the in-person environments, and I've worked for the everybody at home, remote collaborating, that kind of stuff too. And there's upsides and there's downsides to both environments. And definitely when you have the in-person environment, you do have a lot of like synergy and in-person collaboration that you don't get when everybody's at home sending each other emails and having occasional calls. So I think the idea of like, and if you read that book, The Innovators, and it talks about, all these different computer innovations of the years, you see all these innovations that come out of people collaborating day after day in an in-person environment. So the idea is cool. Having said that, the counter is that it does feel a little counter to the ethos of Bitcoin of just anybody, anywhere can contribute. And this idea that like if you, centralize thinking around something in a single physical location, does that detract from the decentralized nature of the project? But so I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm saying, there's pros and cons to both sides of it.
Totally. I don't claim to have any answers. I'm just going to try things out and see how it goes. Maybe have some hardware devices for them to check out.
Hey, I'd like to come to a design studio in Austin, Texas, and have like freaking sticky note meetings. We're gonna put sticky notes all over the walls and stuff. But we're gonna have
let's go full IDEO on it.
Yeah, we're gonna have like a piece of glass, and we're gonna like take notes like on the glass. Just
definitely
brainstorming. And
I'm into it. No, I think like there's probably going to be a lot of hand holding involved in immersion section. I'm prepared for that. I can't go. I mean, it's so hard. You can't go everywhere in the world, but if you can have somewhere where people can come, I think that at least gives an option. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a disaster. We'll see how it goes. But just having the option, I think for people makes a little bit of sense. And it's not something I thought of immediately. Someone mentioned it. They were just like, well, what are people going to do who like are older? And I was like, wow, good point. Like even just to get them to use maybe like point of sale things that are electronic was probably like a whole scenario, assuming they even use them. Some people don't, but yeah, that's how you build trust. I think it's like when there's an actual human involved to help you. So I don't know. I hope I can like show up for people in that way.
If people want to fund and think Bitcoin designers should have their own studios and they're willing to fund that, I would be happy to open my own studio here. So I'm down for that experiment.
Totally. I think we got to experiment. That's what makes things better, I think so.
Yeah, this reminds me, sorry to interrupt here. This reminds me a little bit of Hello Bitcoin. If you're familiar with their story, I think they started out with this presentation that they shared online that people could host in their own communities. This kind of gives me that feeling that it's something that you're going to create and that you're going to put together, but that it could be replicated or that it could be put together in a way that other people could do something similar. And that would be kind of cool. And I agree with Christoph. It would be kind of fun to see how different people would adapt it. And maybe those communities could connect with each other online every once in a while. It'd be kind of fun.
So we're all in. It's happening. Studio practices.
Let's do it.
Everyone's in. We'll have Christoph will take the German side. Alex will take the Mexico City side. It'll be all good. So anything else you think that I'm leaving out that would be helpful? We can also like DM later. I know we have like 5 minutes left here. I want to leave time for other people to present anything or ask questions or whatever. We can move on if we're good.
How soon are you starting this?
I mean, I've already been kind of working on it, but I haven't really pushed anything. I was kind of waiting. I've had like a lot of insecurities around this just because I feel like it's such a big task, one. And two, I don't know what our next iteration on the design guide will be. I don't know if this is something that should go in like a quote version 1 that we have, or if we should wait for a lightning section. So I'm already kind of working on it behind the scenes, but I would love to be a little bit more visible with it and put things out there. I just don't know if it's too soon. And I thought I would really get your guys' thoughts on that or what we're thinking for the next version of the design guide.
I mean, according to our process document on GitHub, things start early in Slack and conversations, and they post stuff, and we create issues, and they kind of get bigger and bigger, but they all start really small and kind of vague. So I mean, feel free to post anything in progress. It doesn't have to be on GitHub. It could be a Google Doc, or like you already did with a proposal. Could be videos, could be whatever else you feel like helps you push things forward. Could be to individuals, could be to everyone. So don't feel like you need to, I would say, don't feel like you need to follow a certain format or wait for certain things.
Okay, appreciate the confidence boost. Sometimes I just need a little encouragement to push some things.
Just make a mess. That's what we're here for.
Make a mess.
There's only a single.
All the work you've done to
PR
organize it,
GitHub.
just mess it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's design.
Thank you.
You always first make a mess, and then you clean up, and then you make a mess again, and then you clean it up.
I like that. Yes.
Patricia,
Thank
I think
you.
I'm not sure if you were on the last design jam call, but you know, I know like a lot of times when we were like very early on when we were talking about adding lightning content to the guide, you know, there was this idea about kind of like keeping it on a separate branch and like essentially like finishing all the lightning content before we, you know, open that branch up to public, and or like before we like expose it on the main website. And kind of on the last like design jam call, we just kind of, you know, coalesced around this idea of just pushing the lightning content as it's ready. If that's what you were asking about, like there's
yeah, definitely. I was kind of just concerned about doing it too soon, or making sure that, like, I don't know, if you guys did have a plan, that I was on board with it.
I think Daniel's
not just like pushing random stuff and you're like, wait.
Yeah, Daniel's got a PR for Lightning, and I'm about to drop a PR today, so we're just kind of pushing it as we go. I mean, it's a little more organized than that. Like there's, you know, Pavlinix is creating milestones for specific chapters and sections and all of that. But yeah, it's basically push it as we do it.
Awesome, will do. I'll make a mess. Going to push.
Hi, Patricia.
Anybody
I'm glad
else?
to hear.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you're taking this on, and I agree with the advice earlier on just like basically starting to do stuff on the GitHub or in the Slack or whatever, bringing us along. One thing I feel we learned a bit from both the first version of the guide and then pushing that over the line, and now with the Lightning editions, is that it really helps trying to get the structure right as early as possible. That will save you and everybody else a lot of pain down the line, you know, instead of having to argue about what content should go on which page and how many pages it should be and stuff. You know, just a simple skeleton or like a bullet pointed list early on that we could all kind of peruse and kind of agree on. I think that will get us a long way with very little actual kind of work produced.
Also, could you tell us like what you're hoping for, why this matters to you, and what you're hoping this will help people do? I don't know.
Definitely. Well, I don't think I'm actually the most qualified person to be doing this, but I definitely think that I find myself explaining to people like how things work, and it just seems like there was a bit of a need for something a bit more detailed than just me one-offing like random stores with BTC Pay. And you know, they're so generous and amazing and patient with their time, but I would like to see a bit more of a specific design focus on this than simply like using a wallet. And usually it's like a hot wallet and it's not that secure and they don't understand privacy, and maybe making that a bit more simple and just distilled down, getting the information very clear for them and more approachable, so it doesn't feel like this insane task. And as far as like this section goes in the design guide, I just hope this is like the start of something. I hope more people are wanting to add to it, and I can just do what I can to get things kicked off and have a foundation set so more people can add in their communities and with places and merchants that matter to them. I'm not going to be able to understand everything from like language to like cultural competencies. I'm not going to understand those, but I hope that people can maybe be inspired or use the foundation that we have in the design guide to put something forth and add what's relevant to them. So we're at an hour here. If anybody needs to leave, now's the chance. If not, we can open it up to anybody else who has anything they would like to talk about. Anyone? Cool. I will stop the recording. Right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Christoph.
So yeah, Pavlanek said he wanted to. We can talk it after the recording too, either way. But he wanted to talk about whether we can create an initiative around documenting wallets and analyzing them based on what we recommend in the guide, and maybe find ways that those wallets can be improved and then interact with the projects. For example, it came up with when we pushed the units and symbols page live. It's a very simple formatting Bitcoin amounts, but there are details to consider, and that's something that's a very simple task. Like, and all of us use wallets in one way or another. We can take screenshots, and obviously we don't want to share our keys and maybe not our amounts, but at least we can document things that we do, things we stumble across, and we can organize them somewhere and then let each other know, organize it somehow, and then start engaging with projects and open up issues and maybe turn those into actionable things. Right, Pavlanek, did I miss anything about your idea there?
Well, it was your idea anyway. I just pretended to be very smart and put it out there. So yeah, that's correct. I just build a little bit on top of it. My suggestion is that we create like maybe a GitHub issue or a simple spreadsheet where we would list all the wallets, Lightning wallets that we use. And then simply, yeah, we can just check which of those wallets do not follow something that we strongly recommended in the guide. For starters, that can be like displaying balance in a certain way or hiding it in a certain way, or simply providing a customized, localized option to present denomination of Bitcoin in different ways. So then we would simply compare if a certain wallet follows our recommendation, and if they don't, what we can do is open an issue on their GitHub, and as you said, simply provide a mockup or whatever, explain our reasoning why we're recommending that, because you cannot simply go to the wallet and say to them, hey, do this because we think it's the way to do it. We can actually provide a little bit more context on why it would improve their wallet or experience of their wallet. So I guess that's what I was having in mind. And if there is anybody here that wants to help out, what we need to do is simply list all of the Lightning wallets and then see, maybe post on Slack all of the spreadsheet basically, which all of us can fill in and verify that the wallet we are using. For example, if somebody's using Moon, somebody's using Blue, Zeus, or whatever wallet, we can just compare it with this concrete information and then contact them to update. What this would give us is big wins, actually small, but for us big wins. We would be able to collaborate with projects right away, and maybe we can post monthly updates on how many wallets we managed to, improve something. And on the other hand, if wallet developers or community gets back to us and that tells us that it doesn't work, it's stupid, there is a reason why it doesn't work for their project, maybe then we go back and improve our guideline or see how we can improve it. So yeah, that's the basic idea. So if anybody's interested in compiling a list, I guess DM Christoph or me, and we can kick it off, and maybe on the next community call we can see the results or just try to, verify against certain feature in the wallet. Sorry, I'm ranting. So yeah, that's it. DM me.
DM, I don't know if you can hear us, but if you're trying to talk, there was a bit of background noise. Okay, thanks, Pav. Pavlanek just said he muted you, so if you're trying to talk, we definitely want to hear you, but maybe the messages on the side here could be better. There's a bit of background noise. And as we wrap things up, does anyone have any comments for Christoph or Pav on that? Hey, DM, if you want to try to put some messages in the sidebar here in the chat might be a little bit better since it's kind of noisy on your end.
Yeah, I think someone's messed up with your microphone. I like the idea of Christoph and Pavlanek. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, I like it too. And I guess we could like also I think as you guys mentioned, get some people in the community to like go page by page to those projects. You know, it's kind of like one of those like good first issues that we could have as well.
I have a Figma file with tons of screenshots from Moon that I can share if anybody just wants to take a look at those.
UU or OO? Are we talking MoonPay or are we talking Moon Wallet?
The UU.
Okay. Always got to specify. UU. Yeah, I think it's an amazing idea. And I think like the idea of turning things around faster and getting to work with people quickly will be extremely beneficial. Cool. So while Christoph is getting that, is there anybody else who wants to share anything? Just want to keep the floor open. I know we're running a little over, but I will give everyone a chance before we call it a day. Anything else? Got the thumbs up. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. We can hang out for a little bit after.